show. We got the fantasy effect here. We're going over year two expectations and a re-rank of the 24 rookies, kind of what we expect for them this year going into year two. Hopefully, some improvements in some of the players, and we'll see if there's any regression candidates as well. You'll notice Ron is not with us tonight. He had some family obligations, unfortunately, so it's Holler and I going back with our duo here, but we are inching ever closer to football being back in our lives. I think, what, 2 weeks in a day, and we get the Hall of Fame game. I think it's the 31st.
31st, baby. Yep.
Let's go. I think it's the Lions and Chargers, if I'm
I
not
think so.
mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
Um, so that'll
I
be
know it's the
exciting.
Lions.
I knew it was the Lions too. Uh, but that'll be exciting. Preseason DFS for some of you degenerates out there that play that. That's always fun. I've been known to dabble. Um, Dude, I don't know. It's good times. It's just good to
It
have some
was.
football back, and we're like a month and a half away from like actual like meaningful football. But um, even preseason football's fun.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm stoked for just camp to get started. Get some
Yeah.
more, get some more conversation going, and you know, right now we're just going off of like idiots getting injured on fireworks. So and
Who
it's
would
all
do that?
and it's all about the Bengals not or the whole second round not being signed. It's just like, come on, let's just get to
Yeah,
important
there's
stuff.
there's 30 of the 32 second rounders haven't
Yeah.
been signed, right? So it's I know Jaden Higgins for the Texans is one that got signed, and then I think one of Cleveland's
Yeah.
rookies got
Schlesinger.
signed to Schlesinger, which
Yeah.
is interesting because Cleveland has two second round picks, but they also had Quinshon Judkins, who they didn't sign, and that's a nice little segue
Yeah.
into the
Well,
news. Oh, go
Well, it's
ahead.
kind of cool. Yeah. Well, only thing I was gonna say is what's kind of cool is I work like I've said it multiple times, but I worked at Oaks when Schlesinger was there, and he's
Oh,
just
right
like
on.
a super good kid, and so like it makes sense that he's one of the two to get signed because like he just likes to play ball and he's gonna sign no matter what, and just like just let me get on the field and play. He was a walk on, and then the second round draft is like that's impressive to me. So the
I
dude
knew.
just loves to play football, and he's a great kid.
Honestly, from what I've heard from like scouts and different people that are kind of more connected than we are, is that's what people are looking for now, is that they love playing football, because so much
Yeah.
of it is just like NIL money, and just like, well, I care more about the money than the game, and
Yep.
that doesn't always work, right?
Yeah. So
If that's
to me, it makes total sense that he signed just because, like, knowing a little bit, like, I knew his little brother too, when I was teaching at Oaks. And so it's just like the family's really good. And so it makes total sense. And it's pretty cool to see him go from a walk on all the way to now, I think he led the nation in tackles. So it's super good kid. And I'm stoked for him.
Yeah, he's a tackle machine. His name came up the other day in the IDP discussion. He might
Yeah.
be able to lead all rookies in tackles, so
And tackles.
would
Yeah.
not be surprised. The other rookie for the Browns made headlines not in a good way. Quinshon Judkins was arrested for domestic violence in Florida this past weekend. Um, the arrest report didn't look good. I don't want to get too into it, but it not a great look. Um, I don't I don't want this to come across as like insensitive. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the domestic violence part. I just want to kind of focus on what the impact is.
Yeah.
Obviously, we feel for the victims, right? Hope that there's some justice there. That said, from a fantasy perspective, this is a fantasy show. I don't think his value changes. I think this happened very late. I don't think he gets a suspension this year. I think if he does get a suspension, and we'll have to see how the court and the legal cases play out, but I think he's looking at a 1 to 3 game suspension at the start of the 2026 season. I don't really foresee a major like value shift on him. What are your thoughts there?
Agreed. I've seen so much chatter, and like I'm with you there. Like it 100% not cool at all. Domestic violence is like
Mm.
not cool at all, right? But putting that aside, like in my opinion, he's still a rookie, right? That value is going to stay the same, in my opinion, right? he should miss a few games if he's convicted of anything. And if he does miss a few games this season or next season, in my opinion, his value is not going to change. Once he is on the field, he's a good player. And so if you're selling him for anything, what you got him for with drafting him at like 107 to 111 or wherever, right? 106 to 112, whatever. You shouldn't be moving him. Just hold on to him. What I think of this is if he does it take more time to get into, training camp and everything like that, then the only thing is it's going to get a little bit of a boost to Jerome Ford and a little boost to Samson, right? But in the total grand scheme of things is like, I'm not going out there and selling my Judkins for, half price,
Mm,
right? I'm
right.
going to make any swift judgments or anything like that on his value, especially because he's a rookie. And also it takes time, like Rashid Rice, Jordan Addison. When these players get into legal troubles, it takes some time for the NFL
Hmm.
suspensions, right? So if he is convicted of something, I hope he gets a suspension like he should, and then we can move on and he gets the help he needs as well, right? So for me, I'm staying pat, right? I'm not really going out to buy anymore. I'm not going to sell any. It's just like whatever I have, I'm keeping, and I'm not making any like, big changes.
Yeah, I think he's a hold for now, right? Um,
I've seen so many low balls and like, if I get I'm just
Same.
like, no, I'm not really like it's just a nice, I'm not really looking to move him right now. Like when you do things like that, in my opinion, in fantasy, it's just like you're gonna lose value there, right? Because we really don't know what's gonna happen unless they come out and we know he's gonna miss for an extended period of time with games. Then you can make your changes then. But like when you don't know what's going on, I think something I learned last year is like I moved off on a lot of Rasheed Rice and I moved a lot for like George Pickens. And now we still don't know if Rasheed Rice is going to get a suspension. He's going to be healthy,
Hmm.
connected to, Patrick Mahomes is like I made I overreacted, right? I think it was worth
Sure.
injury and things like that. But in the long run, like I should have held Rasheed Rice. His value is way higher than George Pickens at this time.
Hmm. I agree, and I think the way I kind of view suspensions is a lot of the times like it's generally like 1 to 4 games on a lot of these suspensions. That happen at the start of the season, generally speaking, which isn't like a major like detriment to your team because it's before the bye weeks happen, right? It's before like really like a lot of injuries start piling up like midway through the season. It's if you're going to have players miss time, it's probably best to do it at the beginning of the season as opposed to, right in the heat of bye weeks where all of a sudden it's like, well, I already was down, 3 guys because they're on bye, and now I have this goofball who got suspended to take away another option. That's when it really starts to hurt. But at the beginning of the season, it's really not. Like you can
Yeah.
find guys to
And I
fill
think
in.
the only thing we'll see a difference is like redraft, right? So I'm in the
Mhm.
Scott Fish Bowl. I'm in a couple other charity, best
Yeah.
ball tournaments and things like that. It's like I've stayed away from him, but I also stay away from a lot of rookies that I'm not sure what's going to happen, right? It's like Travion Henderson looks like a nice piece, but like I don't want to wait around when I'm in a redraft, right? I want to make sure I know what I'm getting, and that's kind of how I play my redraft, right? Versus in Dynasty, it's not a big deal if he misses a couple games. Like I'm not moving off of this player because he's missing a couple games in his first year. I don't think that one player is going to make a total difference for your whole season in Dynasty.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It is a little different redraft.
Yeah.
Um, that said, a little bit of better news. Garrett Wilson got a massive payday. He got a 4-year, $130 million contract, which is good for him. He's a really good wide receiver. I know there's been some contract disputes and him maybe not being super happy with the Jets, but they got it figured out at the end of the day. I think money settles things. I got 90 million in guarantee. This was him at the fifth highest wide receiver, just above AJ Brown in terms of like money per year, like 32 mil or 32.5 million a year, which is awesome. Really good for him from a fantasy perspective. It's nice that he's kind of locked into a situation. Like I don't think it's the best situation for fantasy purposes, right? I think he's probably a better real life receiver than he back the fantasy production just because the Jets are kind of a mess. I don't think that's going to be
Kind of.
like a that was probably a little bit nicer. Um, I don't think they're going to have a high passing volume. That
Yeah.
said, I think he's going to have a ton of targets. I think I have him down for like a 38% target share or something just like absolutely ridiculous because it's like there's no one else there.
Yeah.
Sorry, 31. I got a little too fired up. A 31% target share because there's no one else there, right? That said, I don't know how valuable that's going to be. Like he's going to have a lot of targets, but it, like is he just like a wide receiver too? Like, I think that's kind of where he is.
Yeah, so, I view him as a wide receiver too, and it's nothing that knock on him. It's just that he's not had good, quarterback play, right? He's a very good wide receiver. Put him on a team, with what I switched to the situation with Rasheed Rice and Garrett Wilson's a top, 8 wide receiver. He's probably slots into like 6 to 8.
Mhm.
He's a very, very good player, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with I think he's a better football player versus fantasy player. So we maybe the Jets figure it out. Justin Fields, I don't think, but he's the guy that's going to be there. And DJ Moore was really good with Justin Fields, so I think we can see that same kind of thing with
Yeah.
George. Excuse me, with Garrett Wilson. But I think he's more going to slot in as like that wide receiver two, top end wide receiver two. So anywhere from like 12 to 14, may slide in a couple weeks top 10, right? So, but yeah, for the most part, overall through the whole season, I view him as a wide receiver too. But it feels really nice that he is locked up. We don't need to worry about, uh, you know, if he's going to hold out or if he's going to be traded to somewhere we don't even know, right? So I feel good
Mhm.
about that. And for me, I feel like if you are waiting on wide receiver in a startup, he's a really good guy to go and have your wide receiver one, and you have some couple of the wide receiver two guys being your filling out your roster. So I like Garrett Wilson. I think he's just had a tough situation with terrible quarterback play.
Yeah, or Aaron Rodgers
And
deciding to throw to all of his buddies
yeah,
instead of him.
exactly. And I think also it's not just quarterback play, but like you said earlier, it's like the Jets just are a dysfunctional franchise, right? So we got to get
Mhm.
things figured out there. And I think
Yes.
they should be in the right direction with the new head coach, Aaron Glenn. He doesn't take
Yeah.
he doesn't take crap. So I think we'll see some better days ahead, and I think we're going to see some really good games out of Garrett Wilson this year.
That's the thing. I think maybe this year the situation's not the greatest, but I think I do believe in Aaron Glenn. I think them turning it around. So I think just knowing that Garrett Wilson's tied there and they valued him to be a part of their kind of rebuild and restructure. I think maybe in 2 3 years he has the talent to be a wide receiver one in the league.
Totally.
It's just a matter of do they put the right pieces around him to succeed and
Yeah.
get out of their own way
Yeah, like
more.
I think they have some really good pieces there, right? They need, I mean, Justin Fields can be it, but I think they need a second wide receiver. They picked up Mason Taylor in the draft. They have Brees Hall. They need to use him properly. Like they have really good pieces there. So we'll see what happens this year. Like like I said, I think there's going to be some really really good games with Garrett Wilson, but then there's also going to be some normal typical Jets games.
Yeah, and he's a hard one to acquire. So I was looking, he's right around wide receiver 13, which you're kind of paying for like, man, you're hoping he hits like basically low end wide receiver one numbers with that, which I think is a little he I don't have a ton of Garrett Wilson myself because I feel like he always just goes a little bit higher than I'm willing to
Totally.
take him. You know what I mean? And like the trade prices to acquire for him, I'm just like, man, I can't quite get there. Um,
There was a little bit of like people were down on him. I think some last year, right? So I think that
yeah.
was probably like the end of the season last year was probably the best time to acquire him. Maybe a little bit at the beginning of the off season, and then once Justin Fields signs, and they also got Mason Taylor. I think now his value is coming back up. So it is in the last couple, probably I would say last month or month and a half. It has been hard to acquire him, and so it's like I don't want to pay for what it is to acquire him. I'd rather have a more sure thing that I know is going to get me, a certain number of points each week, right? So,
That's the thing, right? It's hard to justify, high end wide receiver two prices when he's probably a low end wide receiver two for fantasy. I mean, he's
yeah,
going around guys like AJ Brown and like Jackson Smith and Jigba and like Rasheed Rice, all of who I feel way more confident that they're going to give me higher end points and probably more consistent points just based on the offense that they play in. So, and
so
similar ages for I guess for
yeah,
both those players.
they're all
Yeah,
about the same. You'd pick Rasheed Rice and JSN over Garrett Wilson.
I think
I think
so.
Yeah, so I think that
Look at my rankings.
I think the issue is like if you're trying to go from like a Rishi Rice to Garrett Wilson, you're gonna have to add, I feel like, to Rishi Rice. Um, Not
Yeah,
much, but you're gonna have to. But at the end of the day, you're probably gonna get around the same points, right? And you could get a like Rishi Rice may score more points across the whole season because he won't have some of those like dip games, right? So I'm with you there. Like it's kind of splitting hairs, right? But I think to acquire these guys like Rishi Rice or even AJ Brown, I think is a little cheaper probably than Garrett Wilson, especially because AJ Brown's like not old but older than those other guys.
he is older, but honestly, I mean, AJ Brown can give you a top like
Yeah,
six wide
exactly.
receiver season. You know what I mean? So like
Yep.
frankly, I feel more confident in JSN
Yeah.
production wise. Rasheed Rice is an easy one for me. I would
Yeah.
tear off with
I
Garrett
mean,
Wilson to get to Rasheed Rice,
yep.
probably straight up. But like, if I can get, yeah, even if it's like a late two, early three
Yeah.
type of player back, like I'll take that too.
Yeah, and like Kevin in the chat says Garrett Wilson, or excuse me, Rishi Rice over Garrett Wilson, which I have no problem with that, right?
So I have them right
I
now.
we yeah, we know who Rishi Rice is getting the ball from. We know what he can do. You know, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Field. That's basically the end of the conversation. So I totally get where people are with that, and for me, it's just like depending on the day. I have them right there next to each other.
hmm Yeah, no, it's a Steelers' choice a little bit. I know there's some worry about Rasheed Rice and his off the field antics. If you're just looking at pure like their situations on the field and their teams, it's pretty easily Rasheed Rice. But
Oh yeah,
um, I definitely understand like the more safer thing with Garrett Wilson as opposed to Rasheed Rice, who likes to play real life GTA.
yeah,
But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's The Chargers reported to training camp today. Actually, they were the first team where all the veterans reported. They got an early start, probably because they're playing in the Hall of Fame game in a couple weeks. Mike Williams is starting camp on the PUP, which is kind of hilarious to me, just because I feel like he lives on the IR and
oh yeah.
and the PUP. I saw the notification come up today, and I was like, dude, already? Like,
I know, right?
like how the hell? Like, how did you get hurt in your day off? Speaking of getting hurt on your day off, Najee Harris apparently suffered an eye injury on the 4th of July from a fireworks incident. We didn't get a ton of details on what happened, but it was weird because like the news came out, it was like, oh yeah, like he'll be fine, he'll be ready to go by camp, and now all of a sudden he's got placed on the NFI list, which is like the NFL like non-injured, like non-football injury list. Um, Dude, I don't know. What I will say about this, I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Maybe it's only like a couple of days, maybe it's a week. Whatever it is, it's fairly significant if Omarion Hampton, who they drafted in the first round, gets to run with the ones already kind of unimpeded, like without having to split carries. Like that's super valuable for him. And it makes me feel much
Mhm.
better about Hampton's early season production and usage if he gets extended time playing with the ones,
Yep.
just to begin with.
Agree 100%. Obviously, we were taking Hampton before RG Harvey, but like J.K. Dobbins is now there in Denver.
hmm
So like I feel really good with Hampton running with the ones right away, right? Like I was kind of
Yeah,
like looking forward to a little bit of like split with Hampton and Najee Harris, but like unfortunately Najee Harris on the NFI, right? So I think anything, it's just a boost for Hampton. I think he's gonna be great, and I think already running with the ones is gonna only make it better. And then Mike Williams on the pup. Yeah, for me, it's nothing new. And I don't
yeah.
really think it like is going to affect anything. No, nothing positive or negative, right? Like people were like, oh, maybe Trey Harris is going to now get in there sooner, or QJ, or like we
Well,
already
Trey
know
Harris
what
isn't even signed, so
that's what I mean. Like Trey Harris isn't
we'll
signed, and
see.
then Quentin Johnson, we know who he is. I don't. There's like I have no hope. I need to see it before I can actually have any kind of hope. So anything, it's just we know it's going to run through Lad and the running backs. So I have a
For
little
sure.
bit of hope for Trey Harris, but more it's like the long game there. Like I know he's a good wide receiver, but we'll see. I want to see what happens.
I think Trey Harris will be good. I don't expect a ton out of him year one, but I do
Yeah.
think he's a good player. I expect more kind of like a year two, year three
Yep.
kind of trajectory. But I mean, part of it too is just think the Chargers, they want to run the ball. They have Justin Herbert who can throw it a lot, but I think they want to play good defense. They want to run the ball, kind of like what Baltimore does. I mean, it's kind of a
Yep,
Harbaugh staple. So if you're not the first option in that offense, passing wise, you might never see like a huge ceiling. Just, I mean, unless you're just like amazing and just catch a bunch of
exactly.
touchdowns. So
Yeah. So the
we
the
shall
the,
see.
the receiver I want out of the Chargers is Lad, right? Outside of that,
Easily,
Trey
yeah.
Harris. If you were dropped in Trey Harris in rookie drafts, it's more like I said, the long game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, speaking of Ladd McConkey, I was looking at some props today, kind of focusing on year two players because that's kind of what we're talking about. Ladd stood out to me. His receiving line is set at 1,049 and a half. Last year, he went for over 1,100 yards in his rookie season. That feels like you're really just betting on his health at this point, right? Like, uh,
Yeah.
do you see a scenario where he doesn't, outside of injury, where he doesn't hit the over on that receiving line?
No, I mean, on outside of because I think that offense is going to be better than last year.
I do too.
Another year with the head coaching and the coaching staff. Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback, and outside of Lad, they don't have a very like stout receiving core, right? So the
It's
passes
running through
are
him, right?
exactly, yeah. So I feel really good about that number. I mean, it it's tough. I feel good about that one. I'll hold to say what I was about to say because we're gonna get hit the next one. But like, yeah, I think 1,100 last year. He should not have any kind of slump. There's nobody else there like for him to
Same.
kind of battle with. So
I was just looking at my projections. What I had him, I have him down for 1386, so well over that,
yeah,
1050 mark. I think it's really just you're betting on does he
that-
is he healthy enough to play in enough games to hit that number, which in he has had some injuries.
he has,
Going
yeah,
back to Georgia, right? Like
yeah.
so,
But
it's a
you
little
know,
risky.
the Chargers did lose some key pieces on defense, so they may have to pass a little bit more. And like we just said, there's not
Right.
anybody else there. And like if Mike Williams might be there, Quentin Johnson might be there some game, like, but no one's going to take away the targets from Lad. So I'm pretty confident with that.
No one's putting Loud in the corner. He will
Yeah,
be out on the field. Two other props here. Caleb Williams, 23 and a half passing touchdowns. He had 20 last year on a pretty bad Chicago Bears offensive team. They upgraded the O line. They got Ben Johnson coming in. I feel like he can hit that. That might be kind of one of those ones where he's right around that number.
yeah.
I have him at 27, so like I do have him over, but I don't feel as good about the over as I did on Lad, but I still feel like that's. I mean, he probably gets that
Yeah.
right.
He should, right? They should take a step forward. They have so many good target options. So for me, I don't think I would bet on this one just because I could see him getting 23, 24, right? And
Yeah,
then that's like right on the cusp. So I don't exactly know what to expect out of Caleb for the whole year.
right.
So we would expect him to take a step forward, but you never know. Can he do it? Can he not? Is Ben
Well,
Johnson a good head coach? We don't know, right? So I think there's going to
that's
be a lot of slow moving things with the Bears this year. We should see over 24, but I'm not putting my money on it.
no. I I'm torn because I feel like I want I want that because I feel like he should do it, but at the same
Yeah,
time, like there's some flaws in his game, and we'll get to it in a minute when we kind of go through some of the re-ranking expectations. But um, we call that a tease in the business. We'll get to that in a minute. And the last player prop we had was Xavier Worthy as at 849 and a half receiving yards. He was at 640 last year. This one feels like a pretty easy under, don't you think?
totally. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I think they're baking in probably a suspension for Rasheed Rice, or they're
Mm,
baking in the fact that where
maybe
these
he's
kind of
not 100% ready to go.
yeah, or where is taking a step forward. But I personally think, Hollywood Brown is now like even farther away from, his injury. So like I think Travis
Mhm.
Kelsey, is probably going to be a little bit better. I know he's older, but I think he's going to be a little bit better. He had some lingering issues injury issues last year. So that's a hard one for me to bet on. Like that's a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and like more receivers are
It's
coming back.
that's what I was gonna say. Like it's a hard for me because you're basically asking him for 220 more yards when Rasheed Rice, who we just hyped up as one of the best, really good wide receivers
Yeah,
coming back. Hollywood Brown's coming back too. Travis Kelsey, I dude, I don't know what to expect from Travis Kelsey. He's older, but he's still there. Mahomes still looks
exactly.
to
Yeah,
him to throw to him. Noah Gray kind of took a little bit of a step forward too. Is kind of like the second tight end role in that passing offense. Um, and
so
the other thing too is like Xavier Worthy, like he gets scheme touches, but some of those are like end arounds and like things that don't count towards his receiving numbers.
yep,
Um, and all it
yeah,
takes and all it takes is like 1, 2 missed games, and he's not hitting that, right? Like I have him projected for 891 over 17 games. That's like right on the line.
yeah.
I would probably feel safer taking the under there, but
Yep. I'm betting on the under. And like coming out last year, I won't talk about too much, but like I really liked Xavier Worthy.
sure,
But I just feel like he's more of a boomer bust guy. You got to rely on his speed, give him the ball.
right,
He's probably his best play is probably an end around, which is not even his receiving yards, right? So,
sure.
I that's where I'm kind of that like in probably I think I did around 6 startups this offseason. And I don't think I took Worthy once just because where he was going, kind of what I think of him moving forward, kind of like a boomer bust guy. Like I'm staying away from like bets on Worthy and things like that just because I don't know what to expect.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, that's the thing too. You don't have to bet on every player. It was more just he was a year two when I thought that line was
Yeah,
intriguing.
no,
Part of it
I
too, like
mean,
Kansas City's made a shift, right? The last couple of years. I mean, Mahomes thrown for 4,100, 3,900 yards the last 2 years. Before that, he was like 5,000 or like high fours. So their offense has made kind of a shift towards more of a run heavy and play good
and
defense, and
yeah.
so
And I
they
think
just
for
don't
them,
need to
like
throw that much.
they just care about winning, right? So they'll get it
Right.
done however they need to, and their defense is good. They don't really need to score a ton of points. So for me, it's like tough to really, buy into their secondary wide receiver there, especially, because Rasheed Rice, in my opinion, is very good.
I agree. I agree. All right, let's get into the year two guys. So just to kind of give a recap of where we were this time last year, we had Caleb Williams going 101, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison was the first wide receiver off the board, but 104, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Ron Badunze, JJ McCarthy, Xavier Worthy, who just touched on, was the 109, Brian Thomas was the 110, Bo Nix, the 111, and Jonathan Brooks at the 112, which that one hurts now looking back at it. I think what stands out to me there is I think Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers got pushed back based on landing spot and perceived the situation's not good, ignoring some of the like this is just a freaking talented player, which I think if you look back at it now, you probably take those two, probably 2 and 3 behind Jaden Daniels.
Yep, 100%. Or if I really needed a quarterback, I'd maybe go Caleb Williams. But again, if I'm picking these players now, like, we already see Brock Bowers going in the first round of, tight end premium leagues.
Hmm.
I feel really good about Malik Neighbors. So yeah, I think, Jaden Daniels 1, Malik Neighbors or Brock Bowers 2, 3, and then 4 is, got to be Brian Thomas Jr. or one of the quarterbacks out of Caleb Williams or Drake May or even Bo Nix.
Yeah, so the way I did it, and I can read you how I did it. So I did Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. as my top four, and then I did Bo Nix, May, and Caleb Williams as kind of the next three. And those three, I think you can kind of just like pick your preference.
Yeah.
The thing I really like about Bo Nix is that like there's questions on Drake May and Caleb Williams, like with their situations, whether there's questions on like how good they are necessarily with Bo Nix. I mean, the offense is good. He showed he could do it last year. Nothing's changing in that offense. If anything, they brought in more talent to help him. Um, I really like Bo Nix. He can run the ball. Drake May, I think, is really talented. I think he's stuck in a situation where he's surrounded by not a lot of awesome like receivers or tight ends. Like there's some guys there, but they're not like anything special. And then Caleb Williams, I think his biggest thing is like he takes a ton of sacks, dude. Like, and that's going back to his college days too. It's like
Yeah, 100%.
it's not just an NFL thing. Like he led the league in sacks and sack yards lost last year, which is obviously not awesome. But this is part of part of that was an O line problem, but part of it's a him problem. He holds on to the
Yep.
ball, trying to make the big play, and he takes bad sacks. That doesn't just like go away. And well, let's talk about Caleb Johnson. Or Caleb Williams.
We can talk about Caleb
So
Johnson too. I'm just kidding.
sorry, the Caleb Johnson hate just comes out just
Yeah,
periodically.
no.
Caleb Williams. I think there's a lot of like expectations with Ben Johnson coming to town that everything in Chicago is just going to be like magically fixed, and I don't think that really just happens, right? Like how many times have we seen that where like a hot name coach goes to an area and you just think, oh, this is gonna fix all of their problems, and then it just is okay. Like, and I think he can take a step forward and improve, but like I don't think he's gonna magically just be like, oh, because even if he's Jared Goff, like he's not Jared Goff. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Jared Goff plays within a structure of the offense. He goes through his reads and progressions really quickly. He makes quick decisions. He throws the ball. He doesn't get hit. Right. He just operates on offense. Caleb Williams. This feels like when Sean Payton went to Denver a couple of years ago and had to deal with Russell Wilson, who just doesn't operate in the same structure, and he struggled. This feels like a very similar situation where it's like Ben Johnson's used to running his offense a certain way, and he has a guy that just doesn't really fit stylistically with the
Yep.
offense he wants to run. And what are we going to see? I guess what are you? I kind of crap on
Yeah.
Caleb
So
Williams. What are your
no,
thoughts?
you're good. And this is where I was going with a little bit with that prop, right? 24, 23 over under 23 and a half is like he should get there, but I think he's got a lot of like things that he needs to fix. And a lot of
Yep.
it is him, not necessarily just the offense and the offensive line, right? He needs to
Right.
get like you said, needs to get the ball out faster. I think a lot of it is like some mental things. Like I think he thinks he's a lot better than he is. He was kind of hyped up quite a bit in college, and I think he fell kind of flat when he got over to USC. And a lot of
Mhm.
people were even, me myself are like, this guy's going to be extremely good in the NFL. And we kind of overlooked a lot of his flaws. So I do think Ben Johnson can be a guy to help him, but there needs a lot of changes, and a lot of the off the field things need to change and go the right way in order for him to, reap that 101 that we bought him or drafted him as, right? And so
Yeah.
I, feel more comfortable with at this point. I have a hard time taking Caleb Williams over Bo Nix. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, well, Bo Nix is Bo Nix, right?
Hmm.
But Bo Nix played really well last year. Sean Payton does a great job with his, quarterbacks. Obviously, Russ Wilson was not like that, but we have seen it from Bo Nix, and I feel more comfortable with Bo Nix. And I'd rather lose out on the Caleb Williams and than I would buy him now, and then he's never going to get any better.
Yeah. And like I don't want to say that like Caleb Williams can't do it. Like I definitely think he can. Like I still am pretty high on Caleb Williams. It's just like there's other guys I just feel more confident in,
Yeah,
right? Like Bo Nix, I just feel safer with Bo Nix there. Caleb Williams, there's just a lot of question marks still, and I almost am chalking up his last year as like a wash with
yeah,
like that offense being so horrendous and like the reports that he was trying to study game film, but he didn't know what to look for, and Shane Waldron's just like, yeah, well, that's crazy, man. Good luck, and just like didn't give him any guidance. So I almost chalk it up as like, okay, he can just start over. This is like almost like this is his rookie year.
totally.
Yeah, and we'll see where that goes to. I have questions. I feel like Chicago kind of perpetually underperforms. I do
Oh yeah,
think Ben Johnson can turn around the offense and the team, but it's just like it's not going to be like an overnight like 0 to 100 thing. Like there's a progression there, and I think it might take a little bit.
yeah.
Um,
I'd
Drake May on
rather
the go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'd rather wait till the end of the season, right? He has like a mediocre season and we kind of see it some he takes some step forward, right? And if I can see that, then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll buy back in or whatever. But I think I still have, like you said, a lot of question marks as well. I like honestly think I would take Bo Nix and Dre May over Caleb Williams. And I think a lot of it is
Mhm.
like, he those two guys. I know Drake May, is solid, doesn't have the right pieces, but if you switch the situations, like I think Drake May would be a
Oh,
lot
he's
better.
smashed, dude, in that
Yeah,
offense. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing too, like like looking at their startup ADP, like I would take them over Caleb Williams too, but you don't have to. They're going like
Yeah,
a half round later than Caleb Williams is. And honestly, I would wait even longer. You could get Jordan Love or Baker Mayfield or you know Brock Purdy in like the fourth round, as opposed to taking Caleb in the middle of the second.
yeah,
I
and
just
that's
don't
kind
think
of
that. Yeah, you're drafting him at like hoping he hits his ceiling, where it's like I don't know how realistic that is.
yeah, and so that's what I was kind of pointing at when I was like, I'd rather not buy in now. I think it's just a little too high, right? Maybe he has like a slow start, and then he picks back up at the end of the season, and
Mhm.
then in 26, but again, like in startups, his ADP for me is too high. I'd rather take the guys around him and get one of those quarterbacks later.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Um, I want to stick on some of the year two quarterbacks, but are really kind of more on that year one track. JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix. So McCarthy missed all of his rookie season. Do we think he is going to produce better or worse than Sam Darnold's stat line from 2024? And let me pull that up.
Ooh, I if I had to, if I'm betting on it, I'm gonna take the under just
Sure.
because we're gonna have some growing pains. But if you watch the beginning of the show, I think by the end of the season and you take the whole season, like he'll probably be maybe just under or at it, right? And so I think he's going to be a top 12 quarterback. He has some of the best receivers in the NFL. He has one like number two, Justin Jefferson. If you want to put Jamar
Mhm.
Chase as number one, Jordan Addison is a solid wide receiver. And then they have TJ Hawkinson. Like that whole offense is really, really good, right? Sam Darnold was awesome last year. And I think, JJ McCarthy
Mhm.
is just as good or better than Sam Darnold. So we should see about the same. I'm just baking in a little bit of, slow moving in the beginning, growing pains. And so maybe he
Yeah.
hits those stats that Sam Darnold did, but if he doesn't, I'm not gonna like fault him. I think it's gonna take some time.
Yeah, so Darnold, his stat line was 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns. I don't think McCarthy can hit that touchdown number. He probably won't hit that yardage number either, but
Yeah,
um, especially not in year one, right? Like I think
because I think they're gonna lean on the running backs a
offense.
little bit more in the
Yeah.
beginning, especially because he's a rookie quarterback, right? So that's gonna take a few touchdowns away, a couple hundred yards. So for me, I'd feel comfortable with like 25 touchdowns and 3,500 yards or whatever. So
So, dude, that's actually funny you picked those numbers. So his passing prop number is 24 and a half, and his passing yards is like 36.49. So you were almost like right on what Vegas said.
what?
Yep, that's JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
So
what do you have him statted for?
so I'm a little bullish on JJ McCarthy. That should be no surprise to anyone who's listened to this show for longer than 2 minutes. I have him down for 4,100 passing yards and 27 touchdowns. So I'm a little more bullish. I think, and
I
a part
feel
of it's just it's more just like a faith in like Kevin O'Connell. The offensive line's
exactly.
good. The weapons he's throwing to are fantastic. I, I trust him to make the right decisions and the right reads, and especially in that offense, they set him up really well. Like if he doesn't produce well in his offense, like there's probably something else going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep. Like I was looking at these players in general, right? Like if you re-rank them, I think we've kind of only missed on one in Jonathan Brooks, right? In the first round, right?
yeah,
Outside of that, they all were great. I mean, not gonna say great, but like even Marvin Harrison was solid, right? And I think we took him a
Mar-
little too high, but you're not gonna. There's no way he's falling out of that first round when we re-rank,
no,
right? And
yeah,
so We missed on a couple guys that should probably have been in the top 12, right? Like a lad, but I know some people did take him in the top. And then the big one we missed on
Hmm.
was Bucky Irving, right? Like
Hmm.
he had such a bad
Which,
um, you know, combine that people were like, I'm out, but the guy did awesome.
yeah, so Bucky Irving, that's a good one. So if you remember when we did some of our prospect previews last year, I loved Bucky Irving until
Yeah.
he pulled a Kyrie Williams at the combine and just tested like dog shit. Um, but that's another important like takeaway is that just because someone doesn't test well doesn't mean they're not good football players. Like Puka Nakua didn't test that well either, and he's awesome, right? Like some of
He
these
had a
guys
good gauntlet.
just don't well. You and your gauntlet.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, like sometimes guys just don't test
Yeah.
well. It doesn't mean they're bad football players, right? So, um,
No,
anyways,
I'm 100% with you. Like that was a big miss, right? There's probably the majority of the fantasy football world is were missed on Bucky, right? Like, or you
yeah,
got him so like that one's tough. But like I think compared to 2023, we were very, very like we were very, very lucky with this draft class.
this is a good draft class. And that's kind of one of the notes I had too. Is like the top of this class is awesome. Some of the depth kind of falls off after the fact, but like
Yeah.
the first like 12 to I don't know like 15 players are freaking really good. I was
Yeah.
really lucky to have a class like that because a lot of them aren't. A lot of them you're lucky to get like 6 or 7 like useful pieces.
Yeah.
Like
I think it was like 4 or 5 of the in 23. So we were saying like a 40% hit
uh-huh.
rate, right? And like this is like almost an 80-90% hit rate on that, like
Right.
out of the first round, right? Like we can take 2 out because JJ McCarthy was injured and then Jonathan Brooks, right? And they both got
Right.
injured. So I mean, I think we probably should have had a little more like, pause with Jonathan Brooks, but it was tough because he got drafted really well. He went
He
to
was
a
the
good
only running
spot.
back, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, well,
Yeah.
shit, I need one. He was drafted in the second round. Like, let's take him.
Mm.
Like and it really sucks because he was starting to get more involved coming back from the ACL injury when he got hurt again, right? So that's
Yep.
just like you can't even put that on the player like that he was bad. It's just
Oh
he
yeah.
just had like a stretch of like horrible injury luck, right? Like,
Yep. But
um,
then like I was just looking at like outside of that, like it's kind of crap. Like I like Jalen Polk and that guy, I don't even know if he's gonna make the roster. Right. It's like that guy was
might not.
some of these guys were
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. I think Jalen Wright takes a step forward. So like I think they're at 20, 21, 22 is fine. I mean, Roman Wilson, maybe. I know he had some injuries last year. I liked him as well, but there's another miss. Ben Sinnott, if
Mhm.
he can't beat out Zach Ertz, like that's not good.
Couldn't even get on the
Um,
field, dude.
yeah, that's so like, and then I we've talked about it before. I don't love Michael Penix. I think he will be fine, but I'll take all these quarterbacks over him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Penix, I think he's getting on the field as a starter faster than kind of what we anticipated. I think so. He was drafted more like in the middle of the second last year, kind of early second, like that 203, 204 range. But the expectation was like, oh, the Falcons just signed Kirk Cousins to this huge contract. He's
Yeah,
probably going to be like 3 years before Penix even gets on the field. Lo and
yeah,
behold, Cousins stunk it up,
dude.
and Penix gets on the field. So,
I was watching quarterback on Netflix.
oh
It's pretty
yeah,
fun, dude. I remember the game that I think it was a Thursday night against the Bucks, and Kirk Cousins put up
oh
500 yards. Then the
hell
next
yeah.
game or the next
Yeah,
2 games he played well, and then holy hell, the whole wheels fell
then
off.
it
Like
it went
I
to
don't,
shit and just
yeah. So
fast.
I feel bad for the guy because like he started slow, then they got better. They won like 4 or 5 in a row, and like
Right.
the wheels just came off. And so like, I mean, I don't love Michael Penix. He's in a fine, he's in a fine spot. They have the best running back. They have some, solid wide receivers. Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts. But like we know who Michael Penix is. I don't really think there's much upside there.
That's the
Fantasy upside.
thing. That's the thing with him. I think he's a very, like, fine quarterback. He's a little erratic at
Oh
times.
yeah.
Some of his accuracy is it's like, "Oh, the dude can't shoot straight." And then other times he'll just drop a dime in a bucket and you're like,
Yeah.
"Good God." The arm talent, like, you can't question
Yeah.
that. The dude's got a cannon, right? But it's really more like he doesn't run the ball like at all.
Yep.
So there's no rushing floor. So other guys are gonna kind of pass him just based on that. And he's in a situation where he has to just be so efficient passing the ball, almost like Jared Goff levels efficiency to like hit a ceiling as like a low end QB1. And it's like I don't expect that
Yeah.
from him. I
I
think
see
he's a
him
good
like
low end QB2 and
yeah.
probably call it good.
And I think for most of the time he's going to finish as like a QB3, and he's somebody that you just want on your roster for a fill-in. But I don't like he's not even somebody that I go after. Like if I'm going heavy running back wide receiver in a startup, like he's not somebody
Sure.
I will want to go and get. Like I don't feel good if he's one of my starting
I
quarterbacks week
I
after week.
pretty much never drafted him.
Yeah, I don't.
He's
I had
going
one
in the fifth round, like right behind
crazy.
Jared Goff and in front of Dak Prescott, which
That's
just
insane.
nutter butters to me. He's going like 3 rounds ahead of Tua, which also feels silly. Um, I
There's so
just,
much
dude,
more
I
upside with Tua,
there is like the offense is
and
just
then
better.
but there also is that very
There's
low
definitely
of
the
a
there's
possible
there's
head
that's fair.
scramble and he's done.
Penix
So
is safer, right? So
yeah, but
in
like
that regard,
just
but
looking at this draft class as a whole, like it's solid. But outside the top 12, 13, I would say maybe even 14, like we'll say 15 to be nice. But like, getting to like Ricky Parasol, we still don't know. Jatavion Sanders.
yeah,
I love Jatavion Sanders coming out of, Texas. I think he can be solid, but he's not he's like the definition of the tight end landscape, right? He's going to be mediocre, and so like Trey Benson, no clue what we're going to get out of him. Some people like him for a second year, but like, you
sure.
know, I, I don't, and then I like Ray Davis, but I also think Keon Coleman is like, meh.
And Coleman's kind of just like he's just going to be a jump ball,
Yeah.
red zone guy, and that's kind of his role in the offense, and that's fine. But it's not
Yeah.
anything you want in your fantasy team. On the wide receivers, there's three I kind of wanted to talk about, but like Marvin Harrison, Roma Dunze, and Ricky Pearsall, they all kind of, I guess, disappointed based on where they were drafted. Parasol less so because I think everyone kind of knew that like after he got shot that like it wasn't gonna be anything year one. So I think you kind of went in with the expectation of that. But like Adunze and Marvin Harrison were drafted like in the top half of the first round, if not like 107. They kind of disappointed. Marvin Harrison, like he had wide receiver 30 numbers, but he only had 6 weeks as a wide receiver 24 or better. One of those was week 18, so it didn't help you. Um, I have I have concerns with him, not his talent or just him as a player, but just the offense in general. I think it's a pretty like low passing touchdowns in the offense. I just don't think the offense is overly great. I don't have a ton of confidence in Drew Petzing, their OC, and I think the offense runs through Trey McBride. They don't really scheme up moving Harrison around, so he kind of just gets his traditional like X role, and like if the ball goes there, it goes there. But they don't like scheme him up. It seems like everything's just like he's an afterthought on the offense, which I don't love. But
I I find it very interesting that we did not, as a whole, right, the fantasy community, like, didn't have, like, a pause when you got drafted by the Cardinals. Like, we know what they are. We know who Kyler Murray is. Like,
yeah,
their offense is not that great, but I think if we like, I'll probably swallow my words here, but, like, if Marvin Harrison Jr., if his dad wasn't who he was and his name was just somebody else, I don't think we'd have that same hype. Yes, he was very, very good in college. There's tons of really, really good wide receivers in college that are kind of fall flat in the NFL. But I think a lot of it, his name is what props a lot of his hope
yeah,
in number or his ranking up. But I'm right there with you. Like I'm worried where he's going, and I'm just worried in general. I think unfortunately, I think unless he gets like traded or they get a new offensive
yeah,
coordinator, a coaching scheme, like or if Kyler Murray takes a step forward, I think he's going to be like a mediocre wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and that's unfortunate. But I think he's a really really good really good player in not the best situation.
yeah. So like he's wide receiver 10 right now.
Too
But
high.
I have him down. I have him down at 18, which I feel like is more. I guess palatable. But I know
Yeah.
I get a lot of like looks and like weird, when I
Well,
say that to people, they're like, "Oh, what the hell? Like, why do you hate Marvin Harrison?"
so
It's like I don't, but it's just
yeah, and
the situation's not awesome.
that's mainly what made me think of like if you changed if he had a different name or his dad wasn't
Sure.
who he was, I don't think we people would have the same like, whoa, why do
I
you say it
mean,
like that?
he
So
was already getting fitted for his gold jacket the
yeah,
second he was drafted.
yeah. So
So,
like again, I'm not trying to say he's a bad player. He could. I'm hoping he
no, he's
exceeds our
great.
our expectations and everything. But unfortunately, it runs through Trey McBride. I think unfortunately he's going to be second fiddle. So I'm hoping we see a step forward with that offense in general. But
Yeah.
I'm not putting my money on it.
I, yeah, I don't think we really will see anything significantly different until there's a new coaching staff in place, which might be as soon as
Yeah,
next year.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
all right. Roma Dunze, real quick. Um,
Real quick,
this is
nah, we'll spend the last 9 minutes.
this is one that I generally have. If you're in our Discord, you know my feelings on Roma Dunze.
Yep.
Um, there's a perceived like huge bounce back with Rome, and I do think he's going to improve. I just don't think he's going to improve as much as everybody wants him to. Like, so he was wide receiver 48 last year, which is awful. Everyone kind of points to that, like he had the highest rate of uncatchable targets, which is definitely valid. Um, the way that Caleb Williams plays the game is that, like, yes, that will improve, but like they're still going to be uncatchable targets. It's not like they're all going to magically get fixed and be right on target. I think he's a good player. I have him with some improvement up to like wide receiver like 36, I think, or 36, 37. But like it kind of goes back to Caleb Williams' discussion. Is like things don't just magically get fixed overnight. Like I think he's better, but I don't. I think people think he's like a pretty locked and loaded wide receiver too, and I don't think he's there yet.
Agreed. I think, he could have some good games, but DJ Moore's still there. They
Mhm.
have Cole Kmet, they have um
Colson Loveland with their
Colston
burden.
Loveland, thank you, Luther Burden. So it's just like there's a lot of people there. And I I just don't know if Caleb, like we talked about earlier, I just don't know if Caleb can do it and can support all those pieces, right? And I
Mhm.
still think, I do know there's some kind of question marks if DJ Moore is kind of 1 foot out of the door, 1 foot in. I don't know what's going on there, but like I'd rather be proven wrong than the other way and be like, all in on Roma Dunze because I just don't see it either. Like, I think he'll be a fine wide receiver 3, anywhere from 25 to 36 and, sometimes maybe in the
Sure.
top 24. But like, I don't, you know, I moved off. I think I have one left maybe, and I moved off of him just because his value is so high that I think you're going to get really good return.
Yeah, I mean, he like wide receiver. Let's see.
So like 13, 14.
19. But I mean, some of the guys around them, like T. Higgins, I'd rather have Higgins. Devontae Smith, I'd rather
Smashed.
have
Smashed.
Devontae Smith. Emeka Ibuka, I'd rather take
Mm,
Ibuka.
yeah.
JMO, I'd rather take JMO. Saber Worthy. That one is I probably would go
I'll take
Rome
Rome.
still, but like, I mean, you're getting to a territory where it's like,
I think the biggest thing with Rome is I need to see it, right? Like
yeah,
if he was this really really good wide receiver, he should have beat out Keenan Allen last year. I know people are going to say, well, they schemed up for Keenan Allen. It's like, well, come on, the guy's not even
why
signed.
didn't they scheme up for Rome Odunze?
Yeah. So, that's kind of you can always make a, two-sided argument there. So, I'd rather be kind of like miss the boat on Rome than put all my eggs in that basket. I just obviously part of fantasy is, having fun with the players you like and dislike. So, I have no problem with it. But at the end of the day, I just don't know if Rome's going to reap those wide receiver 2 numbers.
Also, I think it's entirely possible that the offense of Chicago they run the ball a ton, trying to kind of ease Caleb Williams in, not put as much on his shoulders. And I mean, I think people are kind of expecting, Detroit like offense just kind of copy paste. And I don't think I don't think that's appropriate to do. And then the
No.
other thing that's concerning is that like they spent their top two picks on other pass catchers and Luther Burden and Colson Loveland, which I mean, they're gonna if you spend top 50 picks on both those guys, like you're not gonna just not use them. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yep. I
I
mean,
think Rome
maybe
can be a nice piece on that offense. I think he's a talented player. I just
yeah.
I'm
And
pumping the brakes on the production.
yep, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like, maybe they are, looking towards moving DJ Moore off, and then they, have Rome and Luther Burden and Colson Loveland as their core. But I again, like I said, I need to see it. And I'd rather miss the boat than like you said, put your eggs and all that in that basket.
All right, let's hit on Ricky Parasol real quick before we wrap up. So week 17 and 18 last year, he was a wide receiver 7, wide receiver 14. Was that a fool's gold kind of flash in the pan, or is that kind of what we're expecting he's going to be? Like Brandon Ayuk's, you know, it sounds like he's not ready to go yet. He's probably going to miss a lot of camp, maybe even some of the season, or not necessarily 100% and kind of slow to get going. Jawan Jennings, there's rumblings where he's not happy with his contract and possible holdout. I find it odd that that's kind of a middling wide receiver up until last year is going to suddenly force some big dollars coming his way, but like more power to him.
Yep.
Um, Part of it's just
Well,
like I don't know how good is Ricky Pearsall. Like he has a great opportunity, but like is he the guy to like run an offense through? I that's what I have questions about.
yeah, I do as well. And I think a lot of people think, oh, he was drafted in the first round, so he's got to be the number one guy there. And I don't think those two,
So
those
is
two
Ayuk.
things. Yeah, right. So those two things don't need to always be synonymous, right? And so, like, I just feel like he's going to be a fine wide receiver, kind of like Rome, 24 to 36, wide receiver 3. Feel good to have him on your, on your one of your second or third wide receivers. I just don't really see the wide receiver 7 and 14 upside there. I think those are going to be those are his like big spike games, but I think we're going to
Yeah,
see mostly wide receiver 3 numbers.
I agree. I think Jawan Jennings is going to be a bigger part of the offense than people maybe want to admit. I think George Kittle's gonna be there
Oh
too.
yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, dude, he's getting a ton of volume. So there's just a lot of question marks with stuff, and so people just kind of look for like, okay, like these are older pieces. Jawan Jennings has just kind of been like a role player his whole career, and then they're like, well, Ricky Pearsall, he's got first round draft capital. Maybe he's the guy, and they just kind of like anointed him. Also, the other thing is like I feel like Kyle Shanahan gets too much credit for the players he drafts, like assuming they're going to be good. He has a ton of misses.
Oh
Like
yeah.
some of the dudes, like the offensive players he's drafted, have sucked.
Yep.
Like and they get hyped up all the time, and it's like maybe he's just not that great at evaluating talent. He's a great play caller and like scheming guy, but like maybe he just doesn't
Yeah.
evaluate talent all that well.
Yep. I'm with
So,
you. I mean, because if you think about their best players, like obviously they drafted George Kittle, but like outside of that,
but
I'm with you.
that was before
And then yeah,
Shanahan was there,
yeah.
right? Like I don't know.
Yep. No,
Maybe
I'm with you.
maybe
And
I'm
and
just
so
crazy,
like
but
I I don't have a ton of hope for Ayuk either, right? So like, I know it's probably going to take some time, but like I think out of this offense, the main guy I want is George Kittle. Like I don't really want any of the other wide receivers. I don't feel good about Jennings.
is
I
it
don't know what I'm going to get, and then I just don't really love Ricky Pearsall either.
is it possible the offense like might not be as good as we think it's going to be?
100%. I know a lot
There's
of
a lot
people
of question
say,
marks, right?
yeah, I
Like
know a lot of people say last year with their defense they had a lot of injuries and things like that, but I think
they
their
did,
offense is it what it
but
it also struggles. And so and when you have Christian McCaffrey as and if he is healthy, they're going to utilize him, right? Why not? He's
mhm.
very very good with the ball. It's going to run through him, right? And maybe he's missed a step or missing a step because he's older and injuries and whatever. But when he's healthy and fully healthy, he's very very good, and that offense runs through him and George Kittle.
Yeah, like what's interesting is that I was looking at San Francisco's like passing numbers last year. They were super high. They were fourth in passing yards, but they were way down at 13th in passing touchdowns. Like there's a huge like discrepancy in like the yardage and like the scoring offense there. Um,
I would like to see like the red zone efficiency to see if it's like part of that is the
yeah,
issue.
I mean probably. there's a lot of question marks on offense, and I
Oh
kind
yeah.
of feel like the talent is like deteriorating around that team, and they still get viewed in that like, oh, they're like Super Bowl contenders like mindset of like the offense, but it's like the pieces that they do have are older, coming off injury. You know, it's I don't know.
I
I
obviously like
I'm
I do
nervous.
think they're yeah, no, I'm with you. Like obviously I know their defense is going to be better, but I think the Rams are going to be better. I think
Seattle should be better.
Seattle should be better, so that their own division is tough and I just think they're older like you said and I don't feel good about this wide receiver core.
Yeah, I don't either, but we shall see. I will be excited to see kind of how they look in camp and kind of the reports coming out of there.
Yep.
See what they look like in the preseason. We are getting closer. Any last parting thoughts before we get out of here?
No, we didn't really touch on my boy Tyrone Tracy, but yeah, outside of Bucky,
Give him some love. Give him
yeah.
some
So
love.
I just worry they got Scatabo, Devin Singletary still there. So I don't. I like the reason I like Tyrone Tracy is because I got him in the third and fourth round, right? That's why. I mean, he did really well. So I
Mhm.
caution moving forward when you have a running back like that. So and then yeah, that's about it. Join our Discord. It's free. Join our Patreon. And then also we have a charity best ball tournament. Reach out and we'll get you connected.
Aaron Tracy will be a running back 2 on the season, points per game. I'll end with a little hot take there. I like me some Tyrone Tracy.
Let's go. I love it. And Puka's the best.
Luke is the best. All right. Thank you for joining, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.